Hi guys, how are you feeling? Are you a bit bored? So I hope we can make the session more lively, right? Yeah, hopefully. So before we start anything else, I think you know the title of what we're trying to do, and it's more to do with illustration. Uh, I think it's quite apt to just call it cartoons, right? When you say cartoons, I think we can understand it all. So before we go any further, rather than me introducing them, even though the MC has already introduced their names and a bit of their background, so I'll ask the minister to give a brief introduction and what his work has been about, and then after that, we'll let PANKAJ.
I used to write cartoons way back in 2000, I think it was 2002. There was this newspaper called Mizoram Tribune, and I had my own column there. I used to write it daily. It's very hard, and I was studying MCom there in the university. I was in the first batch. Then that Mizoram Tribune, it was later changed to what we now know as SATIRE. Same team, same owner, same editor, Mizoram, Vallarruata. So again after that, Zonet became a weekly newspaper, Sunday newspaper, of course. So I have been writing cartoon there for maybe, I was writing for around 5 years maybe, but that also I had a job there then in PUC. So I feel that I'm working here, I have many other things to do. So I said that I just have to leave this side, the cartooning. But anyway, I'm one of the most, foremost cartoonists here in the state. And I was the first, if I'm not mistaken, I was the first to use a graphic pen. I had a graphic pen way back in 2004 among the cartoonists here in Mizoram. So I experimented a lot also. I do the sketching and the touch-ups and all. I use a graphic pen. Then after that, I just kept it aside. And then after I became MLA, they knew that I was good in sketching. So from the ruling side, there was the opposition there in the previous term. So from the ruling side, they would request me to write a sketch of their faces and all. So I just write it for them, give it to them, present it to them just for fun. So let's make it that for the introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone, and wonderful to be here. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mami, and everybody who was involved with the Lit Fest for inviting us. And I've come to Lunglei many years ago, but I don't think that Lunglei exists anymore. So I couldn't recognize anything while coming up here. One of the, I come back from a very long time back, and one of the things about, the best things about this has been, besides meeting Mark and everybody, is meeting up with my old classmate, Doggy and Zolte. We're meeting after 40 years, you know? So catching up with them, meeting them, and we were, a very nice coincidence was, I don't know, should I call up Dongi? We're the same age. No? So Dongi's husband was my classmate in school, and then he went and married my classmate from university. So it's a very nice coincidence. And yeah, so that's basically, I studied in Edmonds, I studied in Nehu, and then I went to Sikkim in 1983 after Masters, and just fell in love with the place. I'm sure many of you have been to Sikkim, and the only problem with Sikkim is once you go there, you can't leave it. You know, I just couldn't leave, and just carried on. And like I was telling my friend Guru, I went there for a friend's wedding for 1 week, which turned into 2 weeks, into 3 weeks, 4 weeks. After some time, kind of, you just can't leave the place. And I said, why go anywhere else? And after that, got a job there, got married and all that stuff. And then I taught English, or tried to teach English for about 40 years in the college over there. And I was very happy to meet another person from the very same biradari, Filia. No, she's also a teacher, and yeah, I feel yeah. I was teasing her that the O is silent, or there should be Shakespearean. No, so about 40 years of teaching English, and then so you must be wondering where did the cartoon thing happen? No, cartoons was just something I kind of well, I used to like cracking jokes and stuff like that. I made a few cartoons, and then people liked them, so I started making them. No, that's it. And then cartoons is like more like a form of expression, you know, something which you find funny, and then you kind of share it with people, and then people smile, and that's a feel-good kind of a factor. So that's basically where I am. And now after retiring from the teaching profession, I've got into illustrations, cartoons. Not so much. Like Sir was saying, both of us seem to have been cartoonists in the past. But then the cartoon still, Facebook never lets you forget. So they keep sending me, you did, also Facebook reminds you how old you are and says like, you did this cartoon 13 years ago. You know? And they say, oh, that's how old you are. So they're floating around somewhere on the net. But cartoons per se, I used to do it regularly for a paper called Sikkim Express. But then later on I kind of, just too much of an effort. And then now I'm mostly into illustrations. I've recently finished illustrating my friend's second volume of poetry, which I'm sure you'll get a chance to hear. So that's kind of stuff which keeps me. And also the other thing I find interesting is that, and I was telling Kanato, my friend, that illustration seems to be becoming a part of this lit fest, They have graphic illustrations, graphic novels. All this is coming in as a, so it's not just poetry and fiction. This is also becoming a part of the syllabus, so to speak, of the Lit Fest.
I'll pose a question for both of them first, and they can take turns answering. So my first question from this side is, how would you define a good cartoon?
I don't know about the professional, but a good cartoon, okay. What would be a good cartoon? A good cartoon would be probably something which, for me, would be something which gets the message more than the joke. The joke is part of the message. Originally, because a cartoon basically is to, you're trying to say something, and you're kind of trying to, sometimes it can be a little difficult thing to say, but you sugarcoat it with a cartoon. So a good cartoon would be something which gets the message across in the most, the most efficient way, and doesn't, the drawing comes in secondary. The drawing part of it, the sketching part of it can be very rudimentary. It doesn't really have to be very meticulous and all that. But, well, something which gets the joke across and something which juxtaposes would be good, like something which you look at the cartoon and say, oh, I never thought of this angle to it. And because of that juxtaposing of, putting things which are maybe not similar, that would probably bring about a better impact. When you have that little twist, I didn't really think about it. So, and in that, if you can add humor, which is very difficult because many times a cartoon may be humorous to everybody except the person for whom it's been made. You don't find it, when you're laughing at somebody, it's very funny, but when they're laughing at yourself, that is difficult. So anything which can manage that makes the satire. At the same time, I would think some kind of, the ethics has to, just because you can draw cartoons and all that, it doesn't mean you can kind of take, liberties. There has to be some ethics involved, and you have to kind of know your boundaries also, I feel. That would be a good cartoon.
The state of the, let's say, the economy, the politics that is happening during that time. So when you see the cartoon, immediately you know during that time what is happening. And maybe after 10 years or 30 years, it still identifies what is taking place during that time. And another thing is, like Mr. Pankaj has said, it gives you another side of the story that you didn't think was happening or what was not in your mind. So a cartoon has to depict those things, and it has to add humor to that also. And for myself, I used to follow Mr. R.K. Laxman a lot. I buy maybe 7 books of his, maybe. He has different books that has come out. So I still remember some of his cartoons. And it always depicts the humor part and the other side of the story and what is happening there. If I look at the cartoon, I can still know what is happening during that time. I can still recognize the time in which it happens. So I think that is what a good cartoon is about.
And it reminds me of yesterday's session that we had in MZU with Jerry Pinto. So Jerry Pinto was saying something on similar lines. So he said, a gay joke is funny to everyone except the gay dude, right? So it's quite relatable that way. So cartoonists use satire to convey moral or political messages, right, to the public as a means of entertainment, journalism, propaganda, and nationalism. Satirical illustrations use humor, irony, and exaggeration to critique society, politics, and culture very effectively. So in a sense, what they drew 20 years ago, and for Pankaj, I'll bet it's more than that. I would like to know when was the first time you drew, what made you draw, and all these things. But the questions will come later. So it remains relevant. Yes. So I think it's the same with comedians. So in a way, they are comedians. So comedians, cartoonists, they have a certain level of intelligence that makes people relate to them very easily, and for which I really, really have to appreciate these two individuals by my side. So I think we can display some of your cartoons. Like, please pick the one you think is most relevant till today.
This work, a cartoon, is about this vigilantes like JSC, what we call JSC. So they're capturing these youngsters, and the irony is that when they are calling their parents, they're in the church. So I want to depict what is happening there. Their parents are there in the church, and the children are there in the street. So what they are saying is that it means they are capturing their children, like the sons, but they're in the church. So it's a little bit ironic also. These are some of the cartoons. I'm not trying to show any everything, but the thing is that I want to share some of the cartoons that I've had, and I was fortunate enough to be to say to the editor that I want to have the right of the cartoon. It's very important. I didn't get much money out of this, from the, let's say, from the newspaper. But I told him that I want to have the right of this cartoon. If you want to reproduce it, then you need to have my permission. So I was fortunate to have the rights of my cartoons, and nobody can reproduce it without my permission. Anyway, if I go too much on my side, I have to have Mr. Pankaj. Yes, you might have many other things to say also.
Yes, in our society, I think we can all agree in a sense, we could be the most hypocritical society. I would say we are the wettest dry state, right? I think we all understand that.
Really?
So the hypocrisy calls for satire
When?
from the artists.
Where?
Where?
It is actually, which is still throbbing, by the way.
Yeah, it's somewhere up there. It went down, came up again, I
Yes,
guess. All right, so let's go to the questions again. And so my next question is, what is the main reason for your drawings? Is it personal, political, or just to make people laugh?
Frankly, I've never really thought so much about my cartoons. And then this whole process of cartooning, this is just something I did almost instinctively. And the way you're analyzing it, and then the languages, I'm actually getting impressed with myself. I say, wow, this is what you've been doing. Really, not really get and then so was saying about getting paid for the cartoons and all, I didn't think about getting the rights. that's also another aspect I should think about.
He's a better businessman than
Yeah,
you,
I know.
obviously, right?
Because getting paid for the cartoons is a joke in itself. That's another joke. Big joke is that you don't get paid for that. When did I start drawing? I guess it goes back to school. I wasn't into cartoons immediately. I didn't connect my drawings and humor. I think school would be probably because I was getting bored in class, And then one of the first things I used to do was take my history book and start drawing mustaches on people who didn't have mustaches. If he already had a mustache, then give him a beard, make a full war scene, things like that. So also I think one aspect because of all this talking which is happening in Sikkim with regard to my cartoons was they find it to be the social relevance of my cartoons, which is like not so much. I don't do political cartoons. It's more of social. And social also is something you look at inwards, look at myself, my friends, our society. Most of my cartoons, the subject is my family, my son, okay, my friends. And then, in fact, one of my cartoons which went viral is what we call the iTunes. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's there on my Insta page. The Insta page is more, if you want to follow me, I will confirm, but I don't follow back because the Insta page is more like a reservoir, It's like a godam for my cartoons, It's where I keep the cartoons so I can access them when I need them. So I have a lot of friends, and then because following back something, social media is very exhausting, So it's there, and so one of the cartoons which I did went viral was the iTunes where the son, the daughter, have you guys seen that? The son, the daughter, the wife, and then the father. And then the son is showing his iPhone, He's showing iPhone, daughter is showing iPod, the wife is showing iPad, very happy, and the father who's kind of really grumpy, and he's saying, I paid. Because he's the guy who actually paid for all that, So iPhone, iPod, iPad, I paid. And this went viral, and we saw a Japanese or Chinese version of it. Again came back with again different figures and all. So things like now this is something which actually happened with my friend out here. He got his daughter the phone and all that stuff, and they're still kind of very happy. And he's the chap who's actually keeping quiet, not getting any of the limelight. That is one. Then the other social relevance is this one where, again, if you look through it, you will see it about this family. And this is something which is very becomes socially relevant now. When you go to fancy restaurants, and you want to take a photograph and everyone sits down, and you want to take a selfie, is very big now. You want to take a photograph in the restaurant, and you sit down, and just as you're going to take a photograph, you say, no, wait, let the food come. Now the logic of let the food come so that we can take a photograph and post then you post saying, I'm feeling awesome because I'm eating pizza, or I'm having pork ribs, or I'm having this. But without food, you cannot take a photograph in the restaurant. You don't take it because of the decor. So these are things which kind of suddenly you realize, and this is something we see happening with everybody, with me also. Okay, and then you say, okay, then that is what I was talking about, that aspect of it. Oh, it is funny, It is funny. At the same time, you're kind of taking a slight poke. You have on Facebook, you poke them back. I have one other also, the people who don't want to poke, they want to scratch your eyes out also. Okay, so you just take a slight dig. That's actually the right word. You take a little dig at society and saying, this is what we've become, I have another one where people of my age going suddenly holding and saying, are you getting a heart attack? Says, no, where did I leave my phone? That's what happens to us, because suddenly the phone is the most important thing, and you're going around and you'll actually get a heart attack if you lose your phone. So at least my cartoons would be I think the social relevance. And then because I kept seeing a lot of this happening around me, so we just kind of decided, okay, add the cartoons because I like to draw, and then put in a little of humor in the shortest way possible. And then suddenly people invite you to LitFest and ask you questions about it.
So yes, I can see especially both your friends back there, Pidongi and Pizuelte, smiling, grinning from year to year.
I was telling the audience that my classmates are here in the audience, but unfortunately you guys weren't. Anyway, but thanks for coming. Now you are.
Okay, so I think our minister is ready to present one more art. And before he presents his art, I have one question. So can you share a very impactful cartoon you've created and the story behind it?
One of you can come. I can let you have a look at my cartoons, but let me start first on one of the this cartoon. This cartoon talks about nepotism on contracts, FIR, corruption, charge sheet, this ACB and all. So what this guy is saying is that the news are all the same, only the politicians are different. We have the same government, we have different governments, but the news are all the same. It's all about corruption. It's all about nepotism. So this is why I was in politics. This is why I'm in politics. That is why we haven't had any, let's say, employee without any advertisement. One just slipped. In the assembly, you will find that one slipped without my knowledge because it was during the sports and they want that to have a very good sports person. So as an, let's say, emergency, they took one employee without any advertisement. Apart from that, like we had advertised around 3,000 posts after we became into governance. So the news is different now. I'll share this with you. And another thing, just one thing, I'll just mention one thing again. I don't know whether I'm taking too much of the time. You will remember this. When our chief minister, during that time, Mizoram Thanga, in the previous term, 1998 to 2008, he had a speech there in AR Lamwal ground, this AR ground, and the people, the spectators, they chanted Khelmualta, means good, like ground, they want a better ground. They chanted and it disturbed his speech also. So this is what is being depicted, and when Congress came into governance, they were smart enough to put an artificial grass there in, let's say, the most famous ground that we have in Mizoram. So this is another thing, another cartoon that I have made. So it really depicts the thing that is happening during that time, and it mocks the chief minister also. And one guy is telling his friend, see, kan manifesto kan Khelmualta ti lian puizia tur, means we have to put a good like football ground maybe in a very big manner. So this is it depicts what is happening during that time. And I'll just mention another thing. I don't know whether I have it here or not. I'll just this is the second last maybe. So this was posted again in the newspaper by popular demand. This was before the 2003 election. We were having that election in December. So it was winter time, Christmas season is coming. And MNF, their political symbol is star. And for us Christians, a star means a new king is to be born. So Mizoram Thanga, the incumbent chief minister, says that over pararsi loeng zual zelangche. So he's telling his symbol to shine more brightly. And these three opposition guys, Pulal Duoma, Pulal Mingthanga, and Pulal Thanhola, they are saying that it means that a new king is to be born. So they have their own depiction of the star that is going to be at Christmas. So this was such a hit that they requested it to be reposted again. They posted in not on the side or at the corner, they kept it near the, what we call as a cover story, the main story. So this is one cartoon that was quite popular, and this is a cartoon about my story also. So these guys are talking to this person who is being, who is going to be swallowed by a python. And what is written in this python is nepotism, corruption, and politics. Of course, during that time, politics has its own depiction. Anyway, so the common man is going to be eaten up by the python, and the guys on this side, on my left side, they are shouting. One is in this office, in his chair, shouting to this poor man, it's going to eat you. Try to wriggle yourself out. He's in no condition to wriggle himself. He doesn't have that strength. And one guy with this newspaper article. So what I'm trying to depict is that these guys, they're talking from their office, they're talking through articles, but the real persons who try to make a change are themselves in politics. During that time, I was not in politics. This is what motivated me to enter politics also. These two guys, one is well dressed, the other guy is from village, he's a villager. So these people, they care about Mizoram. So they are coming out and they are stepping out to help the poor people to, let's say, to rescue the common man from the clutches of corruption, nepotism, and bad politics. So this is very dear to me also. This cartoon, whenever they ask me to take out the cartoon, that I revered most. I used to take this out also. So I'll distribute some of the cartoons that I've made to, you can have a look at at it, and then you can give it back to me also.
Politics, if I were as good an artist, or maybe half, I would definitely do that. And yeah, Pankaj and I were saying, oh man, our minister is really treading on thin ice. So yeah, controversies arise out of these things, but these are what makes art interesting. So I'll move on to Pankaj. So for Pankaj, I have a question followed by another question which you can answer in one go. So I would like to ask you, has technology helped or rather diluted the essence of being a cartoonist, an illustrator? I ask this because you're still doing it, right? More than our minister maybe, because he's busy governing the state. So that way I ask that, has it either diluted or actually made it better? And also, I would like to know the most controversial cartoon that you've made.
Okay. Firstly is to answer the more interesting part of your question, which actually is going to fall a little flat because I'm like not really a good skater, so I don't like to go on thin ice. It's going to crack at any time. No, but I really hats off to our minister, sir, for you need a lot of. I was looking at some of the topics and all. They can be quite but then a cartoon is also necessary as a medium to give a message, right? So, and I think this is the best way, because instead of writing a long paragraph, a picture would kind of get the point across immediately. Talking about cartoons as for technology, just before I come to technology, Kanato and I have been talking about that. Of course, it's helped, but topical things which kind of affect society, I just remember 2 cartoons which I had done, which Guru and I also belong to an environment group in Sikkim called the Green Circle. So we had done some cartoons to take the environment message across. So those of you who've been to Sikkim, you must have seen, as you drive up from Siliguri to Gangtok, you see a lot of monkeys sitting on the parapet, and people throw food. And a lot of people think they're doing a good thing by giving them food. They actually buy stuff from Siliguri to give to the monkeys. But now the government has taken out, I think the forest department has taken out a ruling, and our common friend who was in the forest department was, I think, instrumental in that. You can be fined for feeding the animals because you're taking them away from their natural habitat, and also a natural way of finding them for them is for monkeys to forage in the in the forest and get the food, not sit on the parapet waiting for the food to come in. On this, I had made a cartoon of this monkey family where the monkey is using a ladder to climb a tree. Now, if a monkey needs a ladder to climb a tree, means he's forgetting his, his instincts. That is one. Then the other one is, of course, of the monkeys. We used to have the Gorkhaland movement, which you are probably aware of. We used to have this long periods of bunds when there were no traffic. And when there's no traffic on the national highway, these poor monkeys have nowhere to get their food. So they kind of, it's like how the political situation affects the monkeys' lifestyle, so to speak. That's about as close to the, as close to politics as can be. But I've not really gone into that area because really too much of hassle, I don't want to get my message across so badly,
What's the bear in the supermarket?
Oh yes, the bear. The bears also, the Himalayan bears. We have a lot of cases about the bears coming down to Gangtok town, and there's been encounters between humans and bears because we've kind of felled the forest. There's nothing to eat in the forest for the bears. And for the bear, the best thing for him is to eat he loves honey, Now there's no more honey in the forest, and we have this huge supermarket which had come up in Gangtok. So we had the bear with a basket buying all the honey in the supermarket because there's no honey in the forest. So that's a kind of a, and it's a very short line. The bear is looking at all these other people staring at him and saying, what? Like, what's your problem? You're the ones who kind of took all my honey, so I'm going to come down here and, okay. So this is another way of getting the message across. Now, talking about the corruption bit, I think there's one again when the bear came in and then the forest department was shooting the bear and the darts would not stun the bear, because these are all supply order darts. And supply order means the lowest tender. So if you watch National Geographic, when the leopard is coming, this guy is one dart and it drops, And over here, the bear is looking like a pincushion and is still coming after these guys, So this is about the max have kind of, that's about as thin as the ice can, or thick, So regarding technology, Kanato and I were talking about it. One of the biggest boons for illustrators and artists is the iPad and the Apple Pencil. It is like incredible. I've been using one for about 2 years, 3 years now. So it's like, and it keeps impressing me, And to the extent that when you go back to our traditional way, it starts getting a little heavy, And when you're drawing on paper, you have this tendency to try and increase the screen, with your fingers because you're so used to doing it on the iPad. Okay. And then the other thing is, if you make a mistake with pen and ink, then it's a lot of trouble to erase it, and then it's never the same. But over here, like just Control-Alt-Delete or just double tap, and you're double tapping the paper also sometimes, hoping that it's going to get deleted. So technology, not just the actual drawing part, the execution of the art, propagating. Social media is a huge thing. You can sit at home, you don't, I see there's a lot of hard work, sirs done on that, actually doing it on paper, getting that paper to the paper, that piece of paper to the newspaper who then scans it and prints it. Now it's like we have come across words like soft copy and hard copy, and I still get confused which is which, Can you give me a soft copy? Is that the one you hold or you send? Rashmi knows about this. So these are some of the new terminologies which we have to kind of, come to terms with. PDF, JPG, it's a cartoon, it's a drawing, full stop. Don't give me so many technicalities, And then you get totally confused. No? Was that what you asked me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So in a nutshell, you could say technology has made it more.
The appeal is, getting lost. Everything is too much of. It's like if you like, rasagollas, all right. One rasagollah is good, but a whole bag full of rasagollas would be, then you get sick. Same thing with AI also. I think AI has its uses, but it's also kind of eating into the. It cuts down on the creativity part.
Yes.
It starts thinking for you, then you're going to start losing your, that part.
Yeah, that was actually part of my question. So, does it dilute the essence, or does it actually help? So, I guess in a sense, it's both, right? Yeah.
It's both, because you have to know exactly to which extent you want to use. If it's just the execution part, okay, but if you're going to start letting AI do your thinking, then that's going the wrong way, I think.
Yes. Fortunately, I'm not that tech savvy, so I wouldn't get into that part. All right, thank you so much, Pankaj. So let's go to the minister. And I would like to know whether you try to balance humor, satire, and sensitivity in your work, or you just, draw whatever you like, whatever comes to mind.
When I was writing for the Mizoram Tribune, I have to write it daily. Sometimes you have to just put satire. Other, some it will be very politics. And the thing I try to do best is put humor in it. Because we love, all of us, of course, we love humor. Some are not very, very political, but if you try to keep on the humor part, it makes people interested. So we want to have a good laugh. So for me, that is the most important part. It's not always about politics. The cartoon that I have, some of them are very humorous from my side, of course. Anyway, one thing like being a cartoonist, no, we try to be a little bit controversial. So might be for Mr. Pankaj also, because if you're not that a little bit of a controversial, you don't have that part, it becomes dull. Because it's like nowadays it's YouTube, it's clickbaiting. But for us, it's not that sense, but we need to get the attention of the people so that they would want more of your cartoon. So we need to put politics side, the satire, the humor part. And one cartoon that I had made, my father is a retired preacher. But then one cartoon I made, he was a little bit angry because I'll share this, of course. So these are two pastors. His father is also a retired preacher. So they were having a discussion after an election near the church. It says, "Tupo sarkar se kanlal berthau thawa khaptir tur zanangai le tan tohi." It means, like, even if we have a new government, we are always in power because the church is very powerful here. So we need to find something that, let's say, prohibit. So something that we need to push the government to prohibit. So my father didn't like it, but it was in my mind. So I just kept it out. He just rushed over to my house. This was in Zalian, I think. Yes, this is the Sunday newspaper then. It was in 2007. It was in 2007. I'll share. So we have to balance. You cannot just put everything. We have to balance. And for me, the humor part is very important to keep the people, the readers, interested.
Yeah, like you said, we are both pastors' sons. And we used to get teased a lot. Pastors' sons be acting like, celebrities in church and all, right? We used to really hate it. But we know how the church is, we know how the government is, so we all know the hypocrisy that is involved in it. But you have to take a bit of both, and you have to learn how to go with the flow and everything. And I think we've been doing that for our
I think that's part of life, no? I mean,
Yeah.
the yin and yang,
yin and
all
yang,
over the
yes,
place.
yes, always. So it's in every one of us, right? So yeah, Mami, are we short on time? Okay, so we'll wrap. We'll take some few questions from
the audience.
What was the most controversial cartoon you ever?
There are many cartoons which are like borderline troublemakers, especially the ones on the ones I make on marriage, you know, and borderline because then you're looking for trouble, you know, stuff like this. At the same time, you try and keep it happy, you know. I'm not very keen at making other people. I don't feel good about making other people uncomfortable because I can draw cartoons. But there are things which are funny and stuff which is very ironic, which for those of us who are married, like, you know, or who are married for some time, not the ones who just recently got married, because you have absolutely no idea what's happening. You have this one like where the wife is looking at the husband saying, "So are you happy with me?" And it is the husband is looking at her saying, "Is it a trick question?" You know? Either way, no matter what you say, is going to be, you know. There's the other one where the wife is saying, "Does this dress make me look fat?" You know. Then this is where the husband has to be very careful, more diplomatic than any of the politicians, you know. Then you have another one where the wife is she's got all the shopping which is there, Zara and, you know, Prada and all the brands are there, and she's trying on all the dresses, and she's telling the husband, "You know why I buy so many dresses? Because you deserve to hang out with someone who looks good. It's because of you I'm buying all these dresses, not for me." That's the biggest irony ever, you know. So things like these are all borderline, you know. And there's always, you don't know when that trouble is going to hit you. And that is actually, the ice gets really thin when you kind of get into these areas which are like very gray, no? I think that's about as close to, I really don't like playing around with controversy. I mean, like, hardly anything to be controversial about. There's enough of it happening anyway.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right?
Mart would not know.
So I'll just add one of my experience. I wrote a cartoon in which Pulal Duam was standing on some cubics, some cubes, and ZNP, one guy is saying this, that ZNP means Zompuiten or Pel to Paul, means they were in a session with Prism, and they broke in two parts, and another one they broke in two parts. So I wrote that cartoon, and the ZNP youth group, they were very angry at me. They called the editor, they called me, some of them threatened me. They were angry because I mentioned them like ZNP as a party that breaks their, like the other organization that they are associated with, because two of the, like, let's say two of the groups that they are associated broke up already. So I made that cartoon. It was like, for you it might not recognize that, but from my part they got very angry. They called me up, they called up the editor, joint editor also. They tried to come to the office. So sometimes we have that type of problem. And one I would like to mention is that it's a coincidence. I'm not that powerful. It's a coincidence, purely coincidence. This now Lok Bhavan, Raj Bhavan then. So one guy put up a black flag, okay, flag. He put up a black flag in the gate of Raj Bhavan. Then one journalist, he took a photograph of that, and he was apprehended by the police. I don't know whether you remember that. It was in the northern side of the gate. So just because of taking a photograph of the black flag. Okay. Hello? Yes. Just because of taking a photograph of a black flag, he was apprehended. He didn't go to jail, but he was taken to the police station and all. So I wrote some kind of a satire of that, and one guy was taking a photograph of a place where one person had died, and the black flag was still there in a custom, we put the black flag on the house of where a deceased person is there. Well, if someone dies, we put up a black flag. So there was a particular house in mind, which is on the road over there. So I wrote a black flag as an example of that house. And one journalist was there taking a photograph, and the other guy was saying that you might be captured by the police if you take that the black flag is there. So one thing was that around, I think, 3 days later, one person from that house died. It's purely coincidence, but I was very amazed. I'm not trying to say that it's some power or something like that, but that's one very unnatural thing that I experienced. It's not some kind of a controversy, but I'll just share it with the audience on that.
My first question is that, so sir, you have said that you are probably one of the first satirical cartoonists of Mizoram to use a graphic pen. So can you elaborate more on the digital art software you use, and also on your experience with learning and switching to digital art from traditional art back then?
I still have this Photoshop. I don't want to use pirated versions. I have 365, like Windows, I buy it. Adobe Photoshop also, I used to, now also Adobe, I shell out around 2,000 rupees every month. Like Photoshop also, I have to pay around 1,000 rupees for that. So I'm using Photoshop from start up to last year. Because from last year, I don't have any time to do any graphic work, so I just stopped. So I'm using Photoshop. During that time also, I started with Photoshop 7. Now there are many versions. So I try to use as natural as I can. See, I have this cartoons. I write it with pencil first, then I use a sketch pen, then I scan it. After I scan it, I just redo some part of that. Because you must have seen the original and the reproduced one, that is in the newspaper, it's a little bit different. So I use just a little bit part of the graphic pen. Apart from that, I try not to use much of the digital part, but then I use it for retouching my art.
Was there a time you got sued for your satirical work? Was there a time you got sued?
Threat or warning maybe 2 or 3 times. But I just kept it aside. Mizoram is a very, very peaceful state, just in the name only.
If people hate your work so much that you get threatened for it, that means you're good, right? And again, political satire, I think it's the best form of comedy that you could get here. And yeah, a lot of material. And maybe like when I get married, I'll probably go into some family, husband, wife type satire, which I know nothing about. Hopefully you guys will help me.
So you have this one particular cartoon where one person says to the other, "Hey bro, what's up?" The person looks up and says, "The ceiling, why?"
That's the generation.
Generation, exactly. So does it come in the way of your followership? You have a bigger followership of our generation people or the younger generation, or it's all the same? How is it?
I don't know. I've just actually
But it's fun all the same.
Yeah,
I follow all
started
of
my
yours.
Insta page. I think about a year now. I think, and like I said, I used it more like a storing space for my cartoons. Because they're all over the place. I'm like looking at the meticulous way he's keeping that. He must be one of the best ministers around with all his papers in order. And I have absolutely no idea whether. Sometimes you sketch them on napkins, sometimes on wherever the idea strikes. So Insta, I started about a year back. I don't know now.
Your account is private.
A lot of it is also because of my son, who, as Guru says, who is also kind of one of the things he's inherited is my wacky sense of humor, and he also has a very kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of a humor, and I get. Because one of my favorite comic strips is Calvin and Hobbes. I'm sure you must have read that, Calvin and Hobbes. And I see a lot of my son in that, He also comes up with that Calvin kind of replies. Now this what's up, is something like, I was showing Guru that yesterday whenever I was coming to Mizoram, my son had said, "Bye Dad." He had sent me a WhatsApp message. So I sent a picture of a bison, you know. So that's basically saying, he's saying, bye dad, so the bison. So now you'll be wondering, what's that buffalo doing out there? The mother didn't get it. And I hope she doesn't hear me saying that she didn't get it. She got it, of course she'll get it. Yeah. So things like that, you know. So you have that kind of also because of the son, I am able to connect with some of the younger lot, you know. Gen Z, I've lost track of where they say we are boomers, you know. I don't know what made us a boomer. There was definitely a boomer or something. And then boomers, Gen Z, now I think which alphabet are we into now? Alpha? Yeah. Then we go into alpha, then we go into beta. Then beta, after that is BT. Then, you know, what else can you do? You know, except try and keep up. So this is what happens. Then also a lot of what his friends do, no? And you know you've been around a long time. If the fashion that you used to wear in college comes back and your son is wearing the same fashion, that means you've gone from like, look at, she's laughing because we're again wearing bell bottoms and, you know, flares, and these collars are becoming bigger. When we were in school, we used to wear our coats, the collar went right till here. It couldn't go any further because there's a full circle again, and it went back till it became thin. And there's no way for that to go anywhere else but go broad again. And I look at some of my photographs from school when I was in Edmonds. My God, I must have worn a maximum of 30-inch flares, you know, 30-inch flares, and then when you're walking, you're almost like you're wearing two flags on your feet, no? You're flapping, and in Shillong it used to rain so much. So you're that's why the streets are so clean, because your trousers are cleaning up the entire street, no? And flapping this side. Oh, and then this is for the younger lot. I'm sure we remember our block heels, no? Huge block heels. And I used to have one which had black stripe, white stripe, black stripe, white stripe in the sole and the heel. And when you wear it, you think like, wow, I'm the fashionista of this, I'm looking so good. And you're looking like you're wearing a chocolate cake on your feet. All this comes around, and now when I look back, this is what is funny. And I think this also connects you with how some people, like, fashion gets really weird, no? And fashion is also another one of my favorite, because fashion also has a lot of material to, you know, to laugh about. Yes, and that's also another thing I do. I ramble, and then even the person who asked the question is looking at me like...
Because I wanted to ask you about stripes, because you'd mentioned stripes.
Stripes, no?
I wanted to go back to purple stripes, but I think
yes.
I will not.
This is Rashmi's favorite. I think Guwahati, I spoke about Phantom.
River Talks.
Phantom, yeah, River Talks. Very quickly, I was talking about graphic novels, and I was talking about Phantom, you know? And Phantom is he was turned 90 now, remember? He was saying, I'm sure so you remember, Phantom was this character called the Ghost Who Walks. Nobody could see him. How can you not see a white man in a purple bodysuit wearing striped underpants, riding a white horse, but nobody sees him? He's the ghost who walks, you know, and he'll only come and see you. But this guy's riding through the forest and, did you see the ghost? No, I saw a guy in purple bodysuit, you know. In the movie, he lost the striped underpants. No, he's not wearing the underpants. Inside, hopefully, but not outside.
Yeah, man. I got 3 of these.
Mike Tyson now.
Yeah, Mike Tyson. Never cease to amaze me. Mike Tyson. My God. Yeah. Hey, man, I'm going to use that one, okay? I'll have to use that one in whatever cartoon that I do. Mike Tyson with the mics. Okay. All right. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.